Hi, welcome to my YouTube video. My name is Ron Williams and I am the owner and operator of Mobilefix Automotive. As some of you are aware, I have quite a few videos on fixing and repairing the Ford Triton 2-valve engines. There is one, possibly two on the 3-valve. However, because of the complexity of those engines, I have not really started shooting repair videos on those at this time. This video concentrates strictly on the 2-valve engine, which was introduced in the early 90s and is actually still being produced in the V10 mode as we currently speak for motorhomes and vans, which is the 6.8 inch. This video is being filmed to answer the top 10 plus videos or questions that I get asked on my videos through the phone on a daily basis. And what I'm asking for you to do is watch through this video, fast forward, rewind, depending on what you need to go to the question that you want before you contact me to ask questions, because I'm going to try to answer the majority of them on this video. I'm asking this because I have a daily business. I'm the only sole person here, and when I spend 6 hours a day on the phone answering questions that I should have or didn't get answered on the previous videos, I spend a lot of time on the phone with you folks, which it's fun. I love talking to you guys. But I just need to give you guys a video that's going to answer these. Well, I'm going to give you the top 10 list, and we're going to go over them one by one, and I'm going to give you the answers that I know of, truthfully, to the best of my knowledge, and you can use it for what you will. Okay, the number one question that I get asked right now by far is, how do I remove the metal shavings? The reason this question is being asked of me in the volume that it is, I believe, is because in the video that I titled Why Your Spark Plug Blew Out of Your Ford Triton Engine, I do not go into repairing it. I simply tell you why I believe the problem is happening. There is one bit of information on that video that I never went back and reinserted. There's also an error on that video. I pick up a non-Motorcraft spark plug and say it's a Motorcraft spark plug. Unfortunately, I picked up an Autolite spark plug that the customer brought for me to put in, and fortunately for me, what I was talking about in the video explaining how many threads are on the plug really doesn't matter. It could have been anybody's spark plug. As long as it had 11 threads, it didn't really change it. However, in that video, when I talk about only 4 or 5 threads being in the cylinder head, one of the things I failed to mention that we didn't really find out for sure until later on is that one of the reasons why we feel that cylinder never really got, and when I say cylinder, I'm talking about the tube that the spark plug threads are actually threaded into. One of the reasons I feel that they never really got those tapped deep enough is because the actual hole that the spark plug sits in is actually tapered just a little bit. And that's one of the reasons why the Save-A-Thread kit, although it's great in a lot of other applications, import cars, V6, Chevy and Ford engines, just doesn't work in the Ford Triton engine. And the reason why is because of that little bit of a taper in there. And so when you put the tap in with the head upside down from the factory and you tap it, the aluminum kind of peels itself away. Well, when you tap for a standard Save-A-Thread, which is this right here, okay, you're only tapping for a 14 millimeter. When you tap for a CalVan insert, you're reaming it out to 11/16 of an inch, or a little bit larger than that. And there's quite a bit more meat on this. Well, that allows the shelf to just get cut all the way down with the reamer. So the metal shaving question is answered in the repair videos if you want to watch those, but I'll answer it again right now. So basically what I do is I take a special tool that I built out of brake line. It's just a 1/4 inch brake line, and or 5/16 brake line. And I went down and I bought just an on-off valve from my local hardware store that was threaded for 1/4 inch MPT female, and I got a 1/4 inch air hose fitting and screwed it in there. And this basically allows me to bend it straight when I'm on the driver's side, and I can bend them That's why there's a kink in it. And then when I'm on the passenger side, it allows me to go down in, and it creates a venturi that not only blows the shavings out, but sucks the shavings out with the venturi. And if you leave the air, high compressed air on long enough, 99% of the shavings are gone, at least the big ones that are going to be a big issue. I will add that on the shavings, the ones that get stuck next to the piston rings, this has been a big kind of argument back and forth with a lot of internet trolls, my son likes to call them, is everybody says the shavings are going to be destructive to the engine. Well, okay, I can't argue that from a mechanic standpoint, because technically we're trained as mechanics to not have anything inside of an engine that's not supposed to be there. However, when you're on the side of a road and you blow a spark plug, you're faced with two choices. You either do the spark plug with the head on the engine, or you pull the cylinder head and you repair it off. The difference is anywhere between $300 and $3,000 depending on what shop. And for those of you that have been through this, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. The dealerships for the longest time wanted to yank the heads and replace the head. That was their fix for this. Now a lot of the dealers are starting to fix them. So now that we're rambling on, that takes care of question number one, hopefully, on how I get the shavings out. It's done with compressed air. I have a video called Revised CalVan Insert Install. It's a 46-minute video. It's the latest technique that I use. Feel free to go, and if you go to my website at www.mobilefixautomotive.com, there's a page that has nothing but all of my video links to everything that I've done. For the most part on that page, you're welcome to go click around on that, watch all the videos you want. I try to do the best I can. Question number two, do other spark plugs need to be done? Should other spark plugs be done? Is the second one I get. No, if you blow a spark plug, my recommendation right now, as of today, until it changes, is if a car comes into my shop or truck comes into my shop with a blown spark plug, and it's usually the number 3 plug. That's the number 1 plug that blows on the Ford engine. We don't know why, we haven't figured it out. I got a lot of theories, but nothing hardcore. But let's say a 5.4 Triton comes in and blew the number 3 or number 4 plug. I recommend to my customer at that point to pay the extra to have all the other spark plugs changed. 60% to 70% of the time, the customer agrees to do that, and there is an additional fee to do that. I find at least 1 or 2 other spark plugs that I can unscrew by hand. That's the start of a blown plug, when the spark plug comes loose, so that has to be dealt with. But the answer to the question is, even before is a preventative maintenance. Change all your spark plugs, even if they've only got 20,000 miles on them. Put the Motorcraft spark plugs in there. Make sure you check on your specific part number, different altitudes, different sea levels and all that stuff. Altitude, same thing. Some of them will call for different heat ranges. Most of the plugs I do are an SP479. I'm in California. I'm at sea level. So that's the plug that we use on most of the 2 Valve Tritons. When you put the spark plugs in, do not, and this is going to come up on a later question, do not put Loctite on the spark plug threads, and that is the plug itself. If you do an insert, you will put thread locker on the outside of the insert threads for the cylinder head, but don't do them on the spark plug unless it's an emergency situation and you have no choice, because it's going to pull the threads when you pull the plug back out later. So after that spark plug's been put in and all the other plugs have been put in, torque them to 20 foot-pounds and no more. This is going to be a rambling video, and you guys know me well enough, I talk a lot. Here's the deal. There's a bunch of guys running around the internet right now saying to torque them to 30, 35 foot-pounds. I'm going to disagree with them and throw the BS flag right now, because here's the problem. If you only have 4 or 5 aluminum threads in a cylinder head, holding a spark plug that has 11 threads, half of which you can't get to, you're telling me that the smartest thing to do is to tighten that thing down so tight that you literally lift up on the 4 remaining threads? Now, I've on and off the engines, I've had these heads and I've played with them in every different configuration, and I'll strip them every time right around 40 foot-pounds. I'll pull the threads. So 20 foot-pounds is what I personally torque my customer spark plugs to. They haven't come back and bit me. So that's my happy spot, and that's the number that I'm giving you from my business to you as help. Okay, so number 3, oh wait, I already did number 3. Number 4, where do I get the kits? Okay, this is an excellent question, and it actually, now I am going to plug one person and one person only. Look at the links in my videos to the repairs. Every one of my videos has a link to Dennis at wiseautotools.com. There are some problems with the CalVan inserts. I shot a video called Important Information You Need to Know about the CalVan kit. It's still the best kit on the market, in my opinion. It's the only kit that I'll install. But they have a problem with some of the threads on the outside of their inserts being cut wrong. And if you order it off of Amazon, which I have an Amazon link on my video, or underneath the video in the description. If you order it off of Amazon, Amazon is going to factory drop ship it from CalVan. CalVan does not quality check their inserts. They're building them by the thousands. So every once in a while, my guess is they check them, but overall, we're still getting bad inserts. I have a customer's truck you can't see that's on the rack right now. It's a Utah truck. Came out here to get a misfire fixed. He had the number 3 spark plug blow on him. He did it himself. His truck, I think he said it had 19,000 miles on it when it blew the spark plug, or 26,000. I think it was 19,000 he said it blew the spark plug at. But the kicker was he bought a CalVan kit, the 38900 kit, online, not from Dennis. And here in my shop when he dropped it off, I just happened to open the kit and check the threads on the CalVan. He had two bad inserts in his kit, 2 bad ones, that if he would have tried threading them in, they'd have locked up and it would have been a miserable nightmare. So where I get my kits from, and the only place I'll get my kits, is Dennis at wiseautotools.com. He is a great guy. You can call and ask for him directly. Give him my name, tell him I sent you. He knows who I am, and he'll make sure that the kit that you get has everything in it ready to rock when you get it, so you don't have to wait another 3 days for CalVan to send you out a replacement insert, which they will do. It's just, you're just gonna have to wait. So that's where we're at with that. Okay, number 5, do the heads have to come off to do the repair? No. You guys, if you watched my videos, has anybody seen me pull a cylinder head? Now, granted, in the vans, life sucks. The vans suck to do inserts on, and that's all there is to it. But I have never, at this point, ever pulled a cylinder head simply to do an insert. It doesn't need to be done. Any shop that says the head has to come off because of a shaving issue, you can argue whether or not the shavings can be a potential issue, although because I've done so many of them, I've never had a problem. And I haven't done 10 inserts, folks. I haven't done 100 inserts. I haven't done 200 inserts, 300, 400. I have literally done over 1,000 inserts. I have never had a customer call me back and said my engine's blowing oil smoke out the exhaust 2 days after, 2 months after, or 2 years after having an insert put in it. So it's another BS flag situation. We just don't need to go there. But the other second part of that question is, do the fuel injection rails have to come off? Because I get a lot of you call me and said, hey, I pulled the fuel injection rails, I'm trying to figure out how to get in there. I have never, ever pulled a fuel injection rail to do a CalVan insert, except for some of the E-Series vans. And I will tell you, there are some of those things that I don't pull the fuel rail because the coil pack doesn't come out, because they do. I've pulled the fuel rails because I've had to be able to get my drill down in there, and there just hasn't been any other way. But I can tell you, it's only been twice. Most every one I've ever done, I've done with the fuel rails on. No truck or no car have I ever pulled a fuel rail to do an insert. So hopefully that answers that question. Number 6, how do I prevent this from happening? Well, kind of step back to, do the other spark plugs have to be done? Number 2 question. Simply keep the spark plugs tight. Pull them, check the threads, torque them to 20 foot-pounds, put your coils back on, tighten your coil down, and have a nice safe trip. If you have a compromised hole because one of those geniuses torqued them to 35, 40 foot-pounds, you're gonna see it on the bore scope with the angle mirror, and the threads aren't gonna look right, and you're gonna need to put an insert in that hole. So that takes care of number 6. Now we're on to number 7. Number 7, should I use thread locker on the spark plugs? No, please don't. They're referring to this 14 millimeter spark plug that was in the head originally. You put another spark plug in there because you had one blow out. Should you put thread locker on it and do the rest of it? No, please don't. Especially if you're bringing it to me to do a tune-up later on. Because what's going to happen is the thread locker, unless you use blue or lighter, is going to end up taking the threads with it, and even a light thread locker can damage them. Now, if you're in the middle of what we used to joke around, we used to call it BFE, out in the middle of the desert, and you blow a spark plug and you can get it to bite, and you're worried about it, and you have to put thread locker on it because you know you're going to do an insert later, that's different. But just for general preventative maintenance, do not thread lock the spark plugs. All right? My opinion, my video. Thank you. Number 8, is the Triton engine worth keeping? I love this question because this is where me, the Ford, the Dodge, and the Chevy guys all put our dukes on, and we just start going after each other, right? Well, let me tell you something. All these new cars, specifically right now in 2019, there is nothing manufactured right now that I will own, even if you give it to me. I'm not driving it. I'm not putting a DPF filter on a diesel engine, okay? It's insanity. They weren't designed to be that way. The electronics, all the stuff that's going on right now. I live in a very simple world. I can't afford to maintain a lot of the vehicles that I'm working on if I owned them, so no, I wouldn't. But here's the deal. These Ford Triton 2-valve engines, I have fleet accounts that have over 500,000 miles on the original engine. Yeah, they've got a blown spark plug or two. Some of them have had a lot of timing chains dealt with. Oil leaks on the oil filter adapter housing. That's a very common problem, okay? You get a lot of people talking about the exhaust manifold bolts that break off or the exhaust manifolds warping. I don't see that a lot, very minimal. And I think the reason for that is because I don't live back east. I don't drive in road salt. So back there, I would probably answer some of these questions a little bit differently, but out here in California where things are not so rusty, I don't deal with that problem. But let me answer the question, okay? I would never, ever sell a vehicle, whether it's an F-150 or an F-250, simply because it's got a 2-valve Triton in it, okay? If the engine is in good order and you maintain it properly, change the oil on that thing at the 5,000 mile mark with good quality oil and not recycled oil and not junk oil and not thrifty oil, but a good quality oil, and do not put an orange oil filter on your engine. I'm not going to use the name because I don't want to deal with the legal problems, but do not, under any circumstances, put a 2 for $5 orange oil filter on a Triton engine, unless you want to see your main and rod bearings being replaced prematurely. Use a good quality oil filter, change the oil. If you've already bought the engine and it's got super high mileage on it, you're going to have to do some checks. If you're starting it, it sounds like it's got a light rod knock in the morning that lasts for 3 to 5 seconds and goes away. It's more than likely not a rod knock. It's more than likely timing chain. And I'm going to be doing a video on that. There's a lot of them out there, but we can move on from there. But as far as I'm concerned, the Triton engine is a damn good engine, okay? I'm going to mention the 3-valve Triton right now. If you own a 3-valve Triton, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do for you. If you are thinking about buying a 3-valve Triton and the truck has 100,000 miles or more on it, close the hood and run like hell. Or stick $4,000 in the bank and wait for that truck to start misfiring. I hate the 3-valve Triton. That's the engine that sucks, Okay, to me, the 3-valve Triton was a bigger piece of crap than the 6-liter diesel was. The 6-liter diesel was not a Ford engine. It was an international built engine. So really, we can't blame Ford for it. They just bought the engine and put it in. But the 3-valve Triton, that engine scares me. Every time a customer of mine comes into my shop with a misfire, multiple misfires, it always ends up being variable valve timing issues, and it's a major issue to deal with. And it always happens. Engines that aren't maintained, oil changes not being done, guides wear out, VVT actuators wear out, cam phasers wear out, and the poor person buying the truck gets stuck with the bill. So the 2-valve, which is the one we're talking about right now, spark plug's blowing out. I'd rather have a $300 spark plug bill for an insert than a $3,500 complete VVT. So that's where I'm at with that. So the answer to the question is the 2-valve engine worth keeping? Yeah, it's a great engine. And the reason why I joked around about the Dodge and Chevy guys is because you know, I can pick on a lot of stuff on Dodge and Ford too. Remember, I'm a mechanic. I work on everything. It's not just Triton. But I'm not going to get into that because this video is already going as long as it is. Okay, number 9. How long will the Caliban insert last? Until after we're all dead. It's a stainless steel insert, super heavy duty. If it's installed properly, the worst thing that's going to happen is sometimes you take the spark plug out when the cylinder head temperature is too hot. Thread lock lets go, the insert comes out. The plug, simply just put a pair of vice grips around the outside of the hat, take a wrench and just unscrew the spark plug and switch it over. I got a tow truck out front dropping off the vehicle at a shop right now, so I'm going to try to get through this. Number 10, is the 3-valve and the 2-valve the same insert? This is an excellent question. You need to pay attention. No. Okay, I'm going to walk around the table right now, and we're going to go to school. Somewhere in 2004, hold on a second. Sorry about that. That's actually a vehicle being dropped off next door, and they knocked on my door. So back to where I was. 2004, to the best of my knowledge, is right around when the 3-valve was introduced and the 2-valve was supposedly retired. There is an exception to that story. And after talking to one of the owners at the actual CalVan company that makes the inserts that I install, he thought that the kits were going to start slowing down because the 3-valve replaced it. Well, the 6.8 liter V10 that's been in a lot of Ford motorhomes and a lot of E-Series chassis, Class C motorhomes, a lot of them run the Ford chassis. They're still making the 6.8. I've done spark plug blowouts in 2016. That's the newest one I've done so far. 2016 E450 van blew spark plug at 29,000 miles. Guess what? Number 3. So the 2-valve is actually still being produced, and get this, they haven't changed the head design. I go in and look at the spark plug threads. There's still 4 to 8 threads at best, and I very rarely ever see 8 threads, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Usually it's not enough. Here's the difference between the 2-valve and the 3-valve, and the reason why, if you're doing an insert on a 2-valve Triton, you need to buy the 38900 kit, 38900. Do not buy the 38300 kit for the 3-valve. The outside threads are the same, but the insides are not. Let me show you what happened. 2-valve engines from the early 90s all the way up into the present 6.8s. If it's a 2-valve engine, it's got a 14 by 1.25 thread pitch. Okay, and there's the spark plug. Now the reason why the electrode on this is flat, and for those of you that haven't asked this question, I get every once in a while somebody will say, hey, I think the piston hit the spark plug because the gap's flat. This didn't happen from piston damage. This did not go through the cylinder head and hit the piston. This is from the coil holding the spark plug into the hole, and the spark plug going bang, 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 and it just beats the electrode flat. So for those of you that jumped out early, you didn't get that tidbit of information. So 2-valve Triton, 14 by 1.25, all 2-valve Tritons. Here's where the difference is. In 2004, when they introduced the 3-valve, they decided to fix the mysterious popcorn spark plug. And the engineers that should not be allowed to work unsupervised, if they would just bring me in and let me sit next to them, we could fix some of this stuff, decided to come out with this spark plug. This spark plug has a 16 millimeter thread. So the diameter is 16 millimeters instead of 14. So it's 2 millimeters larger in diameter. So if you buy a 38900 kit for the 2-valve Triton, you are not going to get your spark plug once it's in the head. Now here's the kicker. The outside threads on both the 3-valve 16 millimeter and the 2-valve 14 millimeter are the same threads. Same tap, same reamer, different reamer guide, because you have to be careful. The reason why I haven't done a video on the 3-valve yet, one is because I've only had 2 come into the shop with blown spark plugs, but you can't just punch through the cylinder on the 3-valve with the kit. You can damage, you can actually cut into where the guide, or I should say the seat for the valve inside the head goes into the cylinder head. You can actually drill and damage the head beyond repair, or at least beyond normal repair. So back to what I was talking about. So we've got the first generation, this is what I call it, Gen 1 3-valve spark plug, which looks amazingly more like a glow plug than it does a spark plug. 16 millimeter threads. These, by the way, are the ones that they're a multiple piece spark plug, so when they freeze into the cylinder head and you unscrew this piece here sticks into the cylinder head, freezes in there. When you put your socket on here and you unscrew, this unscrews out of the cylinder head and it leaves behind this piece and the porcelain stuck in the head, and you got to go get it out. And there's a special tool for that the companies make also, but this is a 2-valve video, so we're not going to go there yet. But at some point in the geniuses technique design for the 3-valve engine, they realized that they messed up, and they realized that now the spark plugs don't blow out, now they don't come out. Now what do? Somewhere around 2010, they redesigned the spark plug heads again, the heads and the spark plugs. And they went to this little bad boy, which is basically a standard spark plug again. 2 pieces, metal on the bottom, porcelain on the top. The only problem with this is a 12 millimeter thread. So if you have a 3-valve Triton and you buy a 38300 kit, which is 16 millimeter, and you put it in your cylinder head, and well, see the problem that we have here? There's too many things going on with the 3-valve Triton engines that make it really difficult for me to answer these questions on the phone without seeing the vehicle. So 2010, roughly, they went to the 12 millimeter spark plugs, which is a better plug. It doesn't break off in the cylinder head like the earlier model does. The downfall to these plugs, and I don't know if you can see this, see those black lines that go up the spark plug? Okay, you can see this is an official Motorcraft spark plug. Those black lines, that's carbon tracking. These ceramic the porcelain, I call them ceramic, but the porcelain part of the spark plug is cracked. This spark plug was shooting a spark out into the cylinder head and causing a massive misfire. And see how clean that electrode is? A Ford dealership had just put this in and the truck started misfiring. They brought it to me. 1 spark plug later, one of the cheapest bills I've done in a long time, by the way, but I keep this as a memento because I've seen this half a dozen times now where the porcelains are breaking on the newer spark plugs. So Motorcraft only on the 2-valve, 3-valve and up, I'm not so sure. Been seeing way too many of these. So Now we're going to get into, this is the end of the top 10 questions that get asked. Now I am going to go into ranting and raving. Probably won't be a lot of raving. For those of you that say that the save a thread insert worked just fine in your engine, I want you to look at my wall of shame. Okay, see that insert? Yeah, popped out same day. This one's funny. This guy was a genius, whoever the mechanic was that put that in. If anybody notices, the insert's upside down. This part should have been facing the spark plug because that's the side that you peen and it spreads open, supposedly to lock this insert into the cylinder head. This one blew back out. And then you have another insert blew out. If you try to use these, don't even bother using the short insert because you're tapping that cylinder head down here, not up here. That's why they keep blowing back out. Here's another one, Save a Thread. Okay, Save a Thread's a good company. Don't get me wrong, they are a great company. I'm never gonna trash their inserts. They don't work in a Triton engine for long term, most of the time. They come back and bite the customer with a big financial bill. And here's one of the things that can happen. Here's a Save a Thread insert, okay? You see this little mark right here where it's blown out? One of my videos is shot on why you should never use anything but a CalVan insert. The cylinder head that this came out of should have been deemed trash, okay? It blew compression gases and blew the threads out next to the spark plug. And I was able to correct this by putting a CalVan insert in, and that truck is still running today, but there's no warranty on it if and when it ever fails, because technically we should have replaced the head. Customer didn't have the money to do it, so we fixed it. But once again, Save a Thread, bad idea, guys, don't do them. The only aftermarket insert in a pinch to get you up and running that I approve of right now is this one. And I don't like it, but it's the only thing that for a temporary pinch will not damage the cylinder head beyond repair. Okay, and what it is it's basically a 3-valve spark plug with an adapter that has tapered threads on it, like a pipe plug, like a pipe thread. And you basically put the spark plug in it and you screw it down in, and it just kamikazes itself into the cylinder head. It wedges itself into the head. Okay? The only downfall to these, don't use them unless it's the absolute last resort you have, because you're stuck on the side of the highway in the middle of nowhere and you got no way else to fix it, and one of these is available. But if you do decide to use one of these, please listen to me. Get it the hell out of your engine when you get home. Find a mechanic like me that does the CalVan insert, and this is why. This is the same exact insert, and it's going to be kind of hard to see. I'm actually going to go behind the camera so I can make sure I'm getting a good picture of it. Okay. See where it blew out? This spark plug insert did the exact same damage to a truck cylinder head that this one did. The difference is this spark plug took most of the brunt of the abuse. This one didn't fare so well because the head's what took the abuse. The reason why these things aren't working, once again, is because there's a small taper in the threaded section of those cylinder heads on the 2 valves. And when you send the tap up in there for a standard 14 millimeter tap, the drill doesn't widen it out wide enough to get a good clean shelf all the way down. When you use the CalVan kit, the reamer is 11/16 of an inch in diameter, and it will ream all the way down from the top of the hat all the way into the cylinder on the 2 valve. Remember, 3 valve you cannot punch through on, you'll damage the cylinder head. So the last thing I'm going to end with for now we've already talked about the inserts being different. If you choose not to buy a CalVan kit, 38900 kit for the 2-valve engine from Dennis at wiseautotools.com, and you choose to buy it from Amazon or eBay or anything like that, do yourself a favor. Before the kit arrives, go down to your local hardware store, hopefully you're close to one, and buy yourself a 3/4-16 nut. Have it ready when your kit gets there. When your kit gets there, I want you to take it and I want you to screw the nut onto the insert, just like that, because the nut is threaded exactly the way your cylinder head will be. If you can screw the insert all the way in and all the way out with no effort, you have a good insert. Okay? If you take and go to put your insert in, and it binds like it just did right there, that's a problem. So we need to make sure that everybody's checking their inserts. Checking the tap is a little bit more difficult. If you try to put this onto the tap, it doesn't always go on cleanly. So that's a little bit more complicated to do, but most of the taps are in pretty good shape, although Dennis has said he's seen a couple of bad ones also. So my recommendation is spend the extra 20 bucks, 25 bucks, buy it from Dennis. He's gonna check the kit. He'll make sure that you get it out of the box working and functioning, and we go from there. So as far as the top 10 questions, hopefully that answers the majority of them. And for those of you that have made it this far into the video, I respectfully ask that if you call me, it needs to be pertaining to questions in this video or about the other video installs. I cannot, as of this point forward, do troubleshooting over the phone. It's too complex, there's too many things, there's too many variables at check, and sometimes I've gotten lucky and helped people out, but I just do not have the resources to spend 15 minutes or half an hour with 20 people a day on the phone. It's not physically possible. So I will be more than happy to work on your equipment if you want to bring it over, like the gentleman from Utah did with his F-150 that's up here on the rack. Be more than happy to. I get to touch it, I get to play with it, I get to find out what's wrong with it and get the vehicle back up and running. It's hard to do that over the phone. The other thing is that if you subscribe to my channel, it'll help me out a lot. Interacting with the commercials helps us out a lot because it's the only way they give us any money is the commercials. Other than that, if there's any questions that I've missed, send them to me, either email or however you want, and I'll do a part 2 question video later on. And we just got through this. All right, I think I pretty much answered everything that I could think of right now off the top of my mind. So once again, Ron Williams, Mobilefix Automotive. Have a nice day. We'll see you on the next video. Thank you.